Hey, everybody. Welcome to Homeopathy at Home with Melissa. Today, we are recording at the end of summer, but we had been talking about a way that we can serve you guys, and we want to hear from you. So if you want to let us know maybe things you would like us to talk about, you can leave that in comments anywhere. I mean, you can leave it in the reviews. You can leave it on Facebook or other areas. But one of the things we've been hearing a lot about is coughs. So today, hello, Melissa. Super happy you're here to help us with all things coughing because I am dealing with those with my own kids.
Everybody's coughing. I'm doing so many acute consults right now. And, when this releases, it's going to be fall. That's just going to continue. So I want to really just define coughs. Coughs are hard. And if we can maybe define coughs and help you differentiate. So that's what this is going to be about, is differentiating between the different coughs so that you can know which remedies to use and to start with, where to start and what to do.
Do you feel like you have dealt with more coughing acute consults this summer than usual?
Yep. Yeah.
It's weird in the summer to
Mhm.
have this much. I mean, I think we've gotten stomach bugs or maybe one cold in the summer, but
Mhm.
this coughing stuff, maybe it has to do with COVID, maybe not, but
Mhm.
I've
Yeah.
noticed it a lot too. And I am really struggling with which ones to use and the four
Mhm.
dose rule, sticking with it.
Yeah.
So I'm
So
looking
I
forward to this.
think, yeah, I think that it's because I think we're having more sickness right now because everybody was staying home and they were masked if they went out.
Right.
And
So true.
I shouldn't say everybody, because really all the people that I know, we weren't staying home and we weren't wearing masks out, but a lot of other people were. So, now all of the immune systems were lowered
Right.
when you're not
Well,
going anywhere.
and even if we're going maybe out some places, there's still not the same exposure. Not as many people are going out, or not
Yeah.
as many places are open to go to. And if you're like me with little kids, we're not going to school or
Yeah.
around many kids who go to school.
Mhm.
So when we did start meeting with people again who were more comfortable with meeting, I think that's happening. And it is now, at least where we are in the South, South.
Yeah.
You're also in the South, but did
Mhm.
you guys start? You did start school.
Yeah, 2 weeks
So I
ago.
know in Michigan, they're not starting till Labor Day weekend or right before.
That's good. I like that.
So it's kind of
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah,
But
I like
here,
that.
people are already coming home with like school stuff, like caught germs
Mhm.
and they're coming home. So I'm excited in a weird
Yes.
way.
Well, I want to start with, I love that you just brought up the 4-dose rule. Let's start with some of the basic rules around treating acute conditions with homeopathy. And just a couple of reminders. So, first of all, we have to remember that homeopathy's job is to move you through the illness easier and
Mm,
faster than if you didn't use homeopathy at all. So don't so if you go into using homeopathy with the thought that I'm going to take this remedy and it's going to stop the cough, that's no better than allopathy, and that's not
mm,
homeopathy's job. So it should shorten the duration and lessen the severity, but likely you still need to move through the condition, because moving through the condition strengthens your immune system. Homeopathy doesn't suppress it, it brings it out to get rid of it for good. So the next time you get this kind of illness, it's less severe, shorter in duration each time. So it just gets better and better until the day comes where you don't get it anymore. And I see that. I see that in allergies and colds and coughs and bronchitis and all kinds of things. So just remember that when you're taking remedies, that the goal is not to shut it down.
mm.
Although, if we grab it really fast in the beginning, very first signs, sometimes that can happen. It can strengthen the immune system so fast that you get such a great response to it that you don't have to really move through the condition like you would have.
like, I think when I've used homeopathy, or I've noticed when an illness is really severe, it almost uproots those really severe symptoms quickly.
Hmm. Hmm.
But like small things, like a cold or something that's not like preventing you from living life,
Hmm.
that like linger. I feel like our bodies
Okay.
work through those for longer.
So yeah, so I hear that really often, especially with colds, that people say they don't really get the best results with homeopathy with colds, and I think that that's part of your body. You're still going to move through the condition. I think people are still thinking this should have shut this down. This should have worked a lot better, a lot faster. So then people second guess themselves and think, "Oh no, I'm not choosing the right remedies, or I'm not doing the right thing." And
Mhm.
I don't think that's the case at all. And a lot of times people will beat themselves up over, I gave Tylenol, I gave Motrin, I ended up going to the doctor and I got an antibiotic. Don't beat yourself up over that. You're doing the best you can. Still use homeopathy along with it, and it's still going to work through those things, and you're still going to get better, and you're still going to uproot conditions rather than, you know, um, really suppressing them, and then you can have an easier time in the future with these conditions.
Well, and you mentioned something the other day on another call about keeping in mind that we are doing this for the long term
Mm,
benefits.
yeah.
And our goal is not to shut down sickness or suppress it, I guess,
Hmm.
but to really use them almost in a way while
To
still maybe being more comfortable.
Yeah, to strengthen your body. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when vaccines came out for chickenpox and measles, or
Mm.
let's just talk about measles. When children used to get measles, it strengthened their overall body in so many ways, and now kids don't get measles anymore. And now there's more
Right.
nephrotic syndrome because
Okay.
they're not.
What is nephrotic syndrome?
Did you really just ask me that?
I don't know what
It's
it
some
is.
kind of kidney something. We
Oh,
talk about
really?
it in Gateway 1.
Well, I know we talked about it, but they only say the word, and I don't know what that means.
I don't know either. Some kind of
Okay,
kidney
good. I'm not
disease.
you
Okay, wait.
take that out. Hey, we don't have to ask. People can Google it. I'll Google it. Just take that part out.
It's a kidney disease.
Okay.
Okay.
I know what you're saying too, and I feel like can't remember what I feel like. I have thought. This is crazy. Okay. Cut that out. Okay. Let's go back to
Okay.
I did have something to say about that.
Um,
Whatever. It's fine. It's
okay.
fine.
So then we have to remember in acute conditions, when you choose a remedy or you choose a protocol, to use the 4-dose rule. So you stick to the remedy that you chose, or you stick to the protocol that you chose for 4 doses. And then, if at the end of the 4th dose, if there's 0 change in the condition, then you move on to the next protocol or the next remedy. So, what I often see is people say, "Oh, well, I've had 3 doses and there's 0 change. What's next?" I know, it's okay. Go ahead and take the 4th dose. Often that 4th dose is like the kicker. And if it's not, then it's okay. Then we move on, but definitely give it 4 doses.
Okay, I have a question. Well, you said no change. You didn't necessarily say no improvement. So I think in general that means improvement. But with coughs, that's tricky because I think the word change is a good term because coughs change a lot. And I think sometimes we interpret that as worsening or in our minds we see change but it might get worse and so we don't stick to the 4 doses. Do you
So
think
good.
so? I just think that's worth noting. I noticed that and I've never pointed that out but it stuck out to me today.
It's a very good thing to discuss because, yes, a change can be you're getting better or it could be you're getting worse. So if you're getting worse, it doesn't mean you're on the wrong track. If the cough
Mhm.
worsens, it could be that the remedy's bringing it out and doing its job. So you probably should stick to it. So 0 change is, yeah, positive or negative. nothing's happened. It's all the same. Then you're not on the
Okay.
right track.
And as it changes, we stick to the 4-dose rule. And if it has dramatically changed, do we then maybe switch remedies and follow the symptoms, or would you stick with the remedy that caused that change, even if it doesn't match the profile anymore?
So as the cough changes, you might change remedies, because if it was dry, we're using a dry cough remedy. If it becomes wet, that's a good, I mean, it's a normal progression. So it's not that your cough is getting worse, but it's changed. And yes, then you might move to a different remedy because of the presenting symptoms. As
And
the
that's
presenting
after the 4
symptoms, yeah,
dose rule.
yeah. As the presenting change, then yeah, you change remedies.
Okay.
And this is coughs are tricky. It's just, I'm hoping that this episode can just help people, do this on their own some.
It is encouraging to talk through this, even because it feels exhausting sometimes when you're changing remedies a lot, and then it can be discouraging. I mean, for me, when I'm changing so much, I feel like I must be doing the wrong thing if I'm scrambling, changing all the time, when really that, in coughs especially, can be the right thing to do as the coughs change, because
Yeah.
they do.
Yep.
Um, that's actually the right thing. It just takes a lot of energy. So it is exhausting
Yeah.
to keep up with it, but it's the right thing.
Yeah. And the goal here for this episode, but even this whole podcast, is to teach you well enough that you'll have confidence. It's really confidence.
Mhm.
When you don't have the confidence in it, you get nervous and you waffle and you make, you go back and
Right.
forth and feel
It's
like
not
you're not doing
peaceful.
well. Yeah. Yeah. But
Yeah.
having the confidence with it can make it a peaceful process. Just, you're just going to give the remedies as they're called for.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
go ahead. You got
I
something?
was gonna do what you're probably gonna go to the.
Yeah. Let's start with the different cough descriptions. So Bryonia is aka dryonia. Everything about Bryonia is dry. So this is going to be that painful, dry, hacking cough. And that's how a lot of coughs start. Let me back up and say that I do highly encourage you to start with, at the first sign of a cough, aconite 200 mixed with Bryonia 200. Do your 4 doses of that. So you're meeting the intensity of the condition with the frequency of the dosing. If it's a very intense cough, you wake up and you're like coughing, 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 and it's disruptive, then you might take it every, 15, 30 minutes. If it's just annoying, like, oh, man, what is this? What's going on? Then maybe you're taking it every 3 to 6 hours.
Mm.
But after the 4th dose of aconite and Bryonia, if you're not very much better, or there's, no change, then you start getting really specific. So that's what we'll talk about next, is the very specifics of Bryonia by itself.
So I think coughs are those things that don't typically start intense like other sicknesses do. And maybe that's something, if you get caught up on that, this can be encouraging to you, where improvement to me sometimes seems like I'm dosing a lot at the beginning and then you slowly spread out doses. And that feels like, okay, this is working. I'm seeing improvement. And I, thinking back with coughs, usually dose less often. And then as it brings it out, more often
Hmm.
for a
Yeah.
little while. And then maybe the cough changes and I'm switching remedy, like we just talked about. And it's just maybe half the struggle as I'm thinking through stuff is just that it's so opposite of treating some other things. It feels bad or like it's not working when it's just a totally different ball game.
Yeah. It really is. It really is. And so that's why we encourage you to study the medicines. So, hopefully you've got a notebook or something you're writing down, you're taking notes with this. But as you study these medicines, and you don't have to go and look at your notes, you hear a dry cough and you think Bryonia.
Mm.
Um, This is a painful cough, so you might see the person holding their chest while they're coughing because they want to keep their chest still. That's how bad it hurts. Every time they cough, it hurts so bad in the chest, so they might hold their chest to keep it still. This cough is aggravated by deep breathing, so they're trying to breathe more shallow because every time they take a deep breath, they start coughing and they don't want to cough because it hurts.
I know this cough. I have
Mm-hmm.
had that cough.
Yeah, yep. I think it's one of the most common coughs. Um, remember, everything about Bryonia is dry. So dry lips, the person's very thirsty.
Mm.
It can also be associated with a new onset of constipation or dry, hard stool. So this person isn't normally constipated. Now they have this dry cough and there's this constipation. So then you're looking at Bryonia. Um, one description is that it feels as if the head and chest would fly to pieces. It's painful. It's
I know
painful.
that feeling. I think
Mhm,
everybody's probably like, yeah,
mhm,
that I
mhm.
know that cough.
This is the cough that compels the person to sit up in the middle of the night and hold the chest to cough. So
It gives
it's not
so
the
much force.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and like you're doing everything you can to control it to stop it because it hurts. And then sometimes, and I've done this so many times before, and I'll be honest, it's been a long time since I've had any kind of significant cough, but I remember these coughs. And often the rib cage can feel bruised. There's
Mhm.
the, I remember that. Literally, my ribs felt bruised. That's
Yes.
Bryon. Oh, actually, you would take arnica for the bruised feeling. So if you start to
Okay.
feel that, you would start arnica. Mm-hmm.
See, where was I haven't had a bad cough in a while either, but the last one was exactly this. And I remember eating buffalo wings and breathing in that spicy, just breathing it in, and it
Uh-huh.
started that crazy cough in my
Yeah.
chest, like I wanted to cry. It felt my ribs
Wow.
hurt. I was coughing so hard and I was
Mhm.
pregnant and, I couldn't take anything else
Uh-huh.
or, which is
Yeah.
probably good,
Yeah.
but I didn't know arnica would have been amazing, bryonia, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so I wanna talk about this I wanna talk about croup a little bit.
Mm,
And, honestly, the first time I'd ever heard of this this croup protocol was from you, Bree, and I also, just found it elsewhere in my notes from another instructor, but I either had forgotten about it or, it was a class that I'd taken after I heard about it from you. But spongia is the homeopathic sponge, and it's number one for croup. But I love the protocol that uses spongia along with hepresult and aconite. But let's first, we're gonna talk about that protocol, but also spongia by itself sounds like a seal. So there's lots of observation that needs to go on in coughs, right? Because you can see the person holding their chest. They might not tell you, I have to hold my chest, but you can see when they cough that they're holding their chest.
mhm,
Um, and then the sound, we always want to hear the sound of the cough. So this cough sounds like a seal. There's extreme dryness. So you think of the sponge, that's not wet, that's dry. This cough is worse in cold, dry weather. So in the summer, you might not have a spongia cough.
well, and that's probably why, some of the home treatment for croup is going in a hot shower and steaming it out
Yeah,
or, putting on the humidifier.
yeah,
So that makes sense.
yeah,
I
yep,
love learning what the remedies are from
uh-huh, yeah,
because it's amazing to me how they work that
yeah.
way.
I know. Um, so again, spongia is a super dry cough, probably even drier than bryonia. It also can sound like a saw going through pine wood.
That sounds terrible.
I know it does sound
I mean,
terrible,
I
and
know
I've
that
heard
that
that.
costs. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
funny when you put labels on them because then I suddenly know exactly what you mean.
Uh-huh.
And I know people have asked me before, "Well, is this cough like croup?" And I tell them, "You will know when we say it sounds like a seal.
Mhm.
When you hear
Mm.
it,
Mhm.
you'll be like, 'That sounds like a seal. That's
Yeah.
a croup cough.'"
Yeah.
And I remember that happening to me
Mhm.
when
Yeah,
our
I've
first
heard.
used to get it all the time.
Yep. Yep.
It's so sad.
So let's talk about that little protocol that you've used before. Do you wanna explain
Yeah.
it or
Yeah, I
okay.
can.
Okay.
And I did find it. I wonder if it was the same person that you have notes from because it was a 1 in the morning deep dive on Google before I knew about homeopathy much and finally found this protocol. Um, so it's aconite, spongia, and hepresult all in 30C. I remember it by thinking it spells ash, the order of it. And that's how I would remember in my mind because it's not
That's great.
alphabetical. So it
That's
spells the
great.
word ash.
Ah, I
And
never even noticed that. I love it.
aconite especially is a for some reason especially important in the very beginning. So as soon as I heard the first croup cough, I'd give aconite, wait 15 minutes, do spongia, wait 15 minutes, do hepresult, and then I'd wait 15 minutes when it was bad, like in the middle of the night if you're seeing retractions or they're not breathing well, I'd wait 15 minutes and do the same thing again in the same order every time. And I did it that close together for 4 rounds. So they were getting 12 doses of a remedy, but 4 different rounds of that ash protocol. And then after that, I typically, even when it was bad in the middle of the night, would only need to do maybe 2 or 3 more rounds. I'd wait a few hours, maybe let them go through the night because this was when they're struggling in the middle of the night. I would give it to him even in the middle of the night if he's sleeping. I usually don't do that, but for croup I did. And then I'd wait till morning, maybe do that protocol again, aconite, spongia, and hepresol, and then wait as I needed to. And really, I almost never had to do it the next night.
Nice.
Um, and then after that, what was really cool, and I didn't even put this together until I took your gateway classes and you started talking about how it uproots and hopefully you'll never need to live off of it again, or you maybe one time will knock it out. Now, I mean, well, he doesn't even get it now. None of my kids get it anymore. And he, after a few times of treating that way, I would do one round of that stuff, done, like gone. I would hear one cough, give that to him, and it was gone.
I love it. That's how yeah, that's how it works. So if we stick to it, yes, I love it. So good. Um, I wish that I had known about that when my kids were little, especially Chandler. He's the one that
Mhm.
got croup and whooping cough and RSV and all the ear infections. You know, the other two didn't get any of that. Um, I mean, they were never, they got colds, you know, and, but never anything serious like Chandler got
Yeah.
all the serious things.
Maybe a little bit of a tangent, but it's really encouraging to be treating our family with these specific things because my husband had said that he used to get this all the time. He would get croup. He had a lot of breathing issues, would get colds really easily or coughs when the heat turned on every year, or very, very sensitive to respiratory things. And he still is. Even working out in the garage in the dust, the whole next day, he has cold symptoms. Like he really struggles with that. And we have also talked in class, and I mean, a lot of places now, about uprooting those genetic predispositions. And I think in the future now, when my kids have kids, that this is not a normal thing for them to deal with anymore
Right.
because I've been able to use homeopathy to uproot so many things.
That's right. That's what homeopathy does too. When there are inherited things, homeopathy can stop that from going forward into future generations.
That's
Yeah.
exciting to think
Yeah.
about.
It is. It really is. Um, so the next remedy is Rumex crispus. And this remedy is great when the person um, really coughs more on becoming uncovered at night. I
Mm.
haven't seen that myself personally or experienced that, but that's one of the traits of this remedy is becoming uncovered at night causes the person to cough. Undressing causes the person to cough. I
These
know
are so
it's
weird. How
odd.
did they
Yeah,
find this out?
the provings.
Oh,
When they
yeah.
have people prove them, then they write down everything that happened when they do the provings. Rumex has white phlegm. So if the person is coughing up white, and so that's the other thing to observe or ask the person about what color is
Mm,
the mucus or the phlegm or anything that's coming out or coming up. What color? We always want to know the color.
okay.
This can be a short hacking cough and a tickle that is excessive. That
That's the
tickling
worst.
cough, it really is.
It's
It
so
really
bad.
is. I've had lots of tickling coughs where, you know, when I would talk, then it would get worse.
And
And
you try to keep talking.
so when I used
I
to work
know.
at the hospital, and I would be there, and right, I did work at the hospital through the worst part of COVID, but before COVID, working in the hospital, if I started to, I would be in a warm room. So I had a cold or flu or whatever, that cough would always kind of hang around a little bit. And I'd be in a really warm room and I'd be talking and I'd feel the tickle and I'd be like, oh no, there's no
You know
way
what's
to make
coming.
it stop. I would have to excuse myself. I'm sorry, I have to go get a drink of water. There was nothing but a drink of water that was going to stop that.
I have been there. I used to have a phone job, and there was one time I was, like, crying from trying to hold it in, and,
Yep,
like, tears are coming down, and I'm finally like, "I gotta go." I
I
just hung
remember.
up the phone on the customer. I could not speak.
I remember that.
Oh,
Yeah, and so, yeah, that was the worst, being like,
so Rumex.
"I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
have to go."
I've never even heard of Rumex, let alone
Right?
used
It's
it,
not
so
yeah, it's
I
not
didn't even know.
extremely common, but it is. It's one, so it's got a tickle, and then, um, sambucus.
Did not know that was a remedy either. I was
Uh-huh.
looking over this list.
Yep,
That's
so that's
elderberry.
black elderberry, So using that as a homeopathic remedy is great for mucus in the bronchioles and lungs. This person suddenly awakens at night choking on the mucus, and they can't breathe because the sputum gets caught in the throat.
Mm, yeah.
So,
I feel like little
um,
kids deal with that even, I guess, and more often. I've seen it where they don't know what to do with it.
yeah, yeah,
They can't keep
hmm
coughing. They don't know that
yeah.
keep coughing gets it out more.
How to get yeah. Okay, so a more common cough remedy is ipac.
Mhm.
The homeopathic remedy I'm not talking about. We used to be able to buy ipecac in the store, right, over the counter, and it was to induce vomiting. So if you had a
Mhm.
poisoning or for whatever reason you needed to induce vomiting at home, you could just run to the store and grab ipecac off the shelf. But that's not what I don't think they sell that anymore, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the homeopathic medicine ipecac, and it's good for whooping cough.
Well, and that makes sense that it would induce vomiting because in this case, that's the cough that you can cough so hard you vomit, right?
That's right. Yep. So it's the nag and gag cough. It's a nagging cough that causes you to gag and or vomit. Yeah. And the ipecac cough doesn't feel better after vomiting. So you know how
Mm,
sometimes ipecac can also be used in a vomiting, if the person is vomiting not outside of a cough, but the person doesn't feel better after vomiting. Often you'll feel better after that, but this
okay.
one doesn't feel better at all.
That sounds like a morning sickness remedy to me, like
Uh-huh, it
pregnancy
is.
nausea,
Yep,
because you
it is a
don't
good
feel
one.
better after
Yeah,
that.
that's right. Speaking of pregnancy, I'm working on a new course, so be on the lookout for
Okay.
that.
Yes, I
Pregnancy,
can't wait
labor,
for
and
that one.
delivery.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay, so ipecac is similar to phosphorus, which we're gonna talk about soon. We haven't talked about that yet. And, um, where it can be good for nosebleeds with the cough. So maybe you have a cough that causes your nose to bleed. Sorry, I hit the mic. That causes your nose to bleed.
That's
Then,
intense.
yeah, really, right? Then you would think of ipecac.
Okay.
This one also brings up white mucus and yeah, and vomiting from too much mucus.
Mm.
My son used to do that. So
Yeah.
my youngest, I used to have.
My
Uh,
baby seems to have that issue when he's really congested.
okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear somebody else say that because I thought I
Mm-hmm.
was a little bit crazy for thinking I think it's his like the drainage and stuff is making him not feel well.
Gag.
I did not think of ipecac.
Yeah.
I haven't thought of it as a nausea thing. I've really only associated it with the cough.
Okay.
And so this is good to know because he did have a cough,
Mm-hmm.
but he wasn't coughing to the point he was gagging, but he was coughing and vomiting up that
Mm,
phlegm. So that's
that might have been,
wish I
yeah,
would have known. That might have been a good
right?
remedy for him.
Yeah. Well, now you know for next time.
Yeah. Try to
Hmm.
remember. I'll probably ask you.
So the next one is drosera, and this is my favorite. I don't know why. I guess because it works so well in my family. This is my favorite and is number one for whooping cough. So drosera also works well as a preventative during an epidemic or exposure to whooping cough. And so, the whooping cough is loose, rattly. There may be yellow mucus. So drosera, you're going to look for the yellow mucus. The voice, how
Mm,
does the voice sound? And so this is a deep and hoarse voice that's not normal for this person, right? Because this person usually doesn't have a deep or hoarse voice. Um, there is pain in the chest underneath the ribs from this cough. This cough can also vomit from too much mucus. So when I just said a minute ago that my youngest son, he used to always do this. He would get a cough and then he would throw up, and drosera was always the one that I used, and for him, and
okay.
it always worked really well. This cough is worse at night and worse for singing and talking. So every time you're probably not going to be singing if you're sick, but when you talk and and there's a cough that's made worse by talking, then you might think of drosera.
What about like bronchitis? Is that the same? I know whooping, I don't know why I said it like that. Whooping cough is a deep cough that will cause hoarseness, but that does make me think of like the bronchitis thing when you get really hoarse from that type
Yeah.
of cough or laryngitis. Is that what I'm trying to say?
Well, so bronchitis is phosphorus. And so I said we're going to talk about that. So let's go ahead and do that anyway
Yeah.
now. So phosphorus is great for bronchitis. It's also another one of my very favorites. Really love phosphorus. Um, so phosphorus can also be good for pneumonia associated with burning in the throat, bronchioles, and lungs. So
Mm,
phosphorus does have burning. Um, Phosphorus craves cold drinks. So you ask the person, are you craving any drinks? Or craving anything? Because we don't want to say, are you craving cold drinks? Right? We have to keep our questions open ended and not leading. So we don't want to
mm,
lead the person. So we say, are you craving anything? Gosh, yes, I've been so thirsty and I'm drinking cold drinks. I want cold water. I want cold juice. Um, Also, phosphorus might cough up blood or bloody sputum. Phosphorus has a lot to do with the blood, with bleeding.
okay.
And so
That's the nosebleed remedy, right?
yeah, it's a
Okay.
good one for nosebleeds. And hepresult. So hepresult is our you can think of hepresult as the antibiotic, as the homeopathic antibiotic. We're not saying that it's an antibiotic. We're not saying that that you can replace your prescribed antibiotic with it, but it does work like an antibiotic. So
In the good
when
ways.
yes, in very good way. Yeah, that's right. So without destroying the gut.
Right.
So if you choose to forego the prescription, you could use hepresult, and and it's great for all infections, all kinds of infections. But hepresult is great for croup also, remember, because that's part of the trio that you
Mm-hmm.
used. This is a loose cough, rattly cough with yellow phlegm. Hepresult is always yellow. So whatever, if the infection is oozing, so if you have an infection from a cut on your arm, if it's oozing yellow, then you're going to think hepresult. Hepresult has a barking, choking, rattling cough that's worse in the morning, worse with drafts, so very sensitive to drafts. So if there's like right now, I can feel my fan blowing on me. That would make me cough more if I had a
Mm-hmm.
hepresult cough. So really love. I pretty much introduced hepresult really soon in a lot of coughs, and I like to do it in a 200 twice a day
Okay.
until you're very much better. So you can use it along with other cough remedies and do it 200
Yeah.
twice a day.
I have found or heard, like, as we're learning things, that heparin added in with a lot of protocols is really beneficial. Um, and it makes sense too in croup, especially because I learned that croup is in the vocal cords. It's not in your lungs.
Mm,
And it seems like it would be because it prevents like the breathing, has the breathing issues. And that's why though there's not many treatment options because aside from a steroid, it's
mhm.
not a bronchial thing, so, antibiotics and things don't really do
Yeah,
anything.
yeah,
Um, but heparin still works though
yeah.
in that trio for I don't know, homeopathy amazes me.
Amazing. That's what I was just sitting here thinking. Praise God for
Yes,
homeopathy. Really.
seriously. I say a lot that it has dramatically changed my life,
Yeah.
and I really mean it. I'm always blown away.
Yeah. And so, for those of you that are listening right now, if you didn't hear the previous or one of the previous episodes is on why you would want to learn homeopathy, go and listen to that. It's life
Mhm.
changing. It really is.
Yeah.
All right, we have two more remedies. Antimonium tart is pneumonia with thick white mucus in the lungs. This is a rattly cough with no power to expectorate the mucus from the lungs. So there's great weakness, and you can't
Mhm.
you can't cough hard enough to get the mucus out. You can hear it in there, but you can't get it up. So this is antimonium tart is number one for rattly respirations. Um, and again, a loose cough, but nothing comes up. So you hear it rattling around in there, but nothing's coming up.
It's not coming up. Yeah. That makes me think of older people too,
Yeah,
who just don't have the physical strength to move it, and I that's often why it becomes pneumonia, they just cannot get that out.
yeah.
So, I
Mhm,
know there are other pneumonia protocols
mhm.
as well, but maybe this I'm not sure if this is in those, but, not off the top of my head,
Yeah,
but it sounds like it would be a good one to
yeah.
really consider.
Yep. Um, I like to use these remedies. I'm going to look back at my list. Bryonia, spongia, hepresult, aconite. Yeah, I like all of these
Mhm.
in 200s. You could use a 30, but I really do like the 200s.
I wonder what the difference would be. I've always used 30s for
Ah,
croup,
that's right. In that
but that's the
protocol.
only scenario
Hmm.
where a 30 now, I do, though, give it very often, and I
That's
wonder if
right.
I were to do a 200 and maybe not need to do it
As
as
often.
often,
So I like
but
what
it
you just
works, so I've
said.
never changed it.
That's right. That's
So,
exactly what I was just going to say. If the something works, definitely don't change it. So, yes, I'm glad you said that. That trio for croup, I would stick to that to 30 in those and follow that because it works. And it's one that has been around that's a protocol that's been around for a long time.
yeah.
So, I would stick to that one for sure for croup.
Rumex and Sambucus, is that how you say that?
Mhm.
Okay, those are not in any kits that I have had or I've
Yeah.
seen.
Hmm.
Um, maybe in the A to Z has a little bit different remedies. If you get the top 100, it might be in those.
Maybe. And I was just kind of looking over and I was thinking I could grab it, but I'm not going to.
No,
But
it's not in the top 50,
okay.
but
But I'll say this too. I've never used Rumex or Sambucus. I've never even suggested them in an acute consult. So I think they're just they're smaller remedies that maybe aren't used so often. The most common of what we talked about is Bryonia, spongia,
Mhm.
hepresult, aconite, drosera, phosphorus, antimonium tart. And
And I
then
think I've used all of those except
yeah,
phosphorus for a cough,
yep. I
but I've
really
used
like
all the rest.
phosphorus for a cough. If you don't have it, you should get it. I really, phosphorus does a lot of good things. One more I just wanted to mention is crocus cacti is the machine gun cough. Machine
Mm,
gun cough. I don't have my materia medica in front of me to read any more aspects of that remedy, but I've also never used that one.
okay.
But just so you know, so if you ever have a machine gun cough or you hear it and you're like, wow, that sounds like a machine gun, get you some crocus cacti.
Some of these names
Yeah.
are very funny.
hmm So I do hope that was helpful to help you differentiate between the different coughs. There are a lot. There's more learning to do with coughs. And in fact, in my mentorship program, we dig even deeper than this into coughs and case taking and case management.
Mhm.
So if you haven't seen my mentorship program, go check it out at mmchomeopathy.teachable.com, and you'll see all my homeopathy school is there. So you'll see all of my classes. Well, almost all of my classes are there. I do also have several classes on my website that are not on Teachable. So you can see everything on my website under the Learn tab. And jump in on the mentorship program if you want to dig even deeper than these. We can't dig hugely deep
Right.
in podcasts, but still do want to teach and hopefully help you be able to do some of this on your own.
Yeah. I just had our first live call, and I sat through Gateway for almost 2 years now,
hmm
and still feel like we use some of the same terms where that repetition is good. I feel like I'm getting really familiar, they're becoming second nature, and then putting them into practice. I always want that, whether it's parenting seminars you go to, and then you get home and you're like, "Okay, well, you're not
What
here
does
helping
this
me with
look
this
like?
scenario in my real life
Right.
that we only had one, and after this long of training, even with you, I feel like it was already really helpful. Good practice. So I encourage you if you can. It's discounted a lot right now until it fills up. So
Not in October. So this episode will come out in
you're
October. It
right.
won't be.
Snap. You missed it. Just kidding. You missed the discount
Too
2 months
bad you missed
ago.
the
Yeah.
boat.
You can cut that part off.
That's yeah, yeah.
You can honestly
Yeah.
cut my whole thing. You ended it really well. Cut that
No,
whole thing.
that was good. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, so jump in on the mentorship program is I love what you just said that it's going to help you put this into practice because we're going to practice during these live calls. So I'm going to throw questions up on the screen and you're going to answer and I'm going to walk you through what I would do and how I would do it. And yeah, on our first live call, um, people that, were on that call were like, "What?
Yeah.
That's what
None of
you
us
did?"
none of us actually came up with what you did.
That cracked me up. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, so okay, yeah."
Which was nice and also like, okay, I have a long way to go,
So
right?
jump in. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd love to see you in a class. Join us. Me and Bree do the gateways together, and any of the few other classes you see on my website are teachable. Would love to have you. So have a wonderful rest of your week, and thanks for listening.